Hey partners, it's your buddy John here, and welcome back to this little Christmas cookie mini-series of In the Kitchen, where today I'm going to be making some gingerbread cookies with a little bit of a twist. This recipe actually ends up making quite a bit, so if you're needing some gifts and you don't know what to do, I guess you can just do this for somebody. Right, anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into it. This recipe doesn't actually call for any milk or eggs, so that makes things a little easier. But what you are going to need is 1 cup of softened salted butter, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of 100% pure cane syrup. You can do molasses, but I went with the cane syrup here, so something a little different there. What was I saying? Oh, a 1/4 cup of water, 5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2½ teaspoons of ground ginger, 1½ teaspoons of baking soda, 1½ teaspoons of ground cinnamon, a ½ teaspoon of ground allspice, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So this recipe actually ends up making quite a bit. So you could kind of stretch it, give people a bunch of cookies, and you'd still have quite a few left over. So it does go a long way. I think in the end I made maybe, I want to say maybe something like 32, something like that, somewhere around there. That many cookies, so it did make quite a bit. Oh, almost forgot. If you want to give the cookies a little bit of a Christmas theme to them, go ahead and grab some Christmas-themed cookie cutters. Also, I have some frosting here and a few sprinkles I'm going to be using later. To start with, we're going to add the cup of butter and the cup of sugar into a bowl, and we're going to go ahead and mix those together, get them to a nice creamy consistency. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of curious about how the butter and the sugar tasted together, so I might have tried a small bit. From now on, I'm gonna call it diet batter. I'm sorry, that sounded funnier in my head. After a few minutes, it should have a rather soft, light, fluffy kind of look to it. Back it up a little bit. Don't know if this is necessarily what I was looking for, but that'll do. That'll do. Now it's time to go ahead and add in the syrup. I'm going to go ahead and add that in here and get that blended together with the butter and sugar mix. After the syrup has been blending in for a little bit, go ahead and add in the water as well. That should keep it nice and loose, you know, don't want it to seize up too much. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and mix together the dry ingredients. So go ahead and combine the flour, the ginger, the baking soda, the cinnamon, the allspice, and the salt into one big bowl here. And we're going to go ahead and just mix those together. We want a nice blend here. We don't want big clumps of one thing separated from clumps of another. So just make sure it's got a good blend to it. Right now that they're all out, just go ahead and whisk them together. Don't really need the electric blender for this or anything, just a little hand mixed mixer here like I'm using. Should do fine. Do that for a couple minutes or until it all looks like it's blended together well. Now it's time to add the flour mix into the butter mix. Just do it a little bit at a time. Don't go overboard. Just small bits. Just little tiny little drops. Just a little bit at a time. Don't go overboard. You just keep the blender going the whole time you're slowly adding it in. You want it to be mixed together a little bit. If you add too much, it gets really hard to work with. So that's why you just do a little bit at a time here. Right, after a few minutes, you should end up with a mix that looks a lot like that hot chocolate cookie mix that we made last week. It should end up looking something like this, so kind of powdery. Anyway, after this, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab a towel, cover up the bowl, and move it into the fridge for 1 hour. You want the cookie dough to be chilled. It will make it a lot easier to work with. It won't stick to the surface that I'm going to be using to actually roll out the cookie dough here in a little bit. So make it a lot easier to work with. So just go ahead and cover it up, move it into the fridge. We'll be back to this in an hour. Right, after the dough has been in the fridge for about 30 minutes, let's go ahead and start prepping for the final bit here of actually making the cookies. So we're going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which I want to say is 177 Celsius. I could be wrong on that. I think that's what it is. Anyway, line a baking pan with parchment paper and go ahead and prep a prep surface here like I'm doing here. Just lightly sprinkle flour over it. Yeah, the parchment paper I put down here that has the flour sprinkled over it, that's going to be to roll out the dough, you know. The flour helps to keep it from sticking to the paper, but I'm starting to think maybe I should have gone with something different. Maybe like a board or something. We'll just have to see how this works out. Oh, if you want, go ahead and grab the cookie cutters. We're going to go ahead and get those ready here. Look, Christmas tree. Right, the cookie dough has been in the fridge for an hour. That means it's time to work out my anger issues. Not again. Not going back to therapy. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take about a handful of the cookie dough, put it down there, and we're going to start rolling it out. Well, I might have actually gone for a little more. Okay, that actually makes sense. Go ahead and flatten it out here. Make sure it's all nice and compact there. We're going to go ahead, flatten that out, and then we're going to start to cut them into the shapes that we want to use. I try to go for a little bit of a mix in the different shapes, but you're going to want to flatten it out to about, I can't remember how thick it was. I want to say it was like a 1/4 inch. It's like I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah, a 1/4 inch. I'm so prepped for this, aren't I? Right, that's flat enough. I think it's time to start cutting out. I think we're going to go with a Santa Claus one first. Yeah, sure, why not? Ho, 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 and all that. There we go. You can't make gingerbread cookies without making a gingerbread man, right? So of course we need the gingerbread man cookie cutter as well. So let's go ahead and get that there. Right, just go ahead and just like peel the cookie batter away from the cutout shapes. Stack it aside. You should be able to reuse it. Again, this recipe does make a lot, so it's going to take quite a few batches before you're actually finished with all the dough. Oh, look, he's missing a piece. Just put it right there. There you go. He needed a hand. I apologize. Right, now it's time to put this first batch into the preheated oven. It's going to be in there for about 10 minutes, maybe a little longer. Just keep an eye on it. When it starts to look like it's golden around the edges, that's when you take them out. Right, after you take the first batch out, you can go ahead and start decorating the different batches of cookies between the different pans that you put into the oven. This is the part where you can do basically whatever you want here. Again, I had some this frosting here. I had some sprinkles. So you can just basically just do whatever you want. Yeah, use your imagination. Of course, I had to go with the gingerbread man. Make the most basic gingerbread man that anyone has ever seen. Look at this little handsome little fella. Look at that. Oh, such a happy gentleman. He doesn't know what's coming. Right, anyway, it'll take quite a bit to get all the cookie dough done, but here's the finished product. Although there's a whole bunch more where this came from. Anyway, partners, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to click like, subscribe. Much appreciated. It really helps me out. Don't forget down below if you're interested in donating to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Link to the donation site down in the description below. I have one more episode I'm planning to do for this Christmas mini-series here. So hopefully they'll be up by Christmas Eve. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to click like, subscribe. Already said that. Anyway, thanks for watching, partners. I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye.